This one's near and dear to my heart. So I'll let you know more about that at the end, including an exclusive discount code if you want to come. But actually, if you're interested in this topic, I think you should check it out. No pressure or anything. Next slide. So for today, I'm going to make an argument that I think behavioral science matters in this field. I'm going to explain to you briefly about the behavioral science approach and why it's different. And then I'll talk to you about the EAST framework. The Behavioral Insights team out of the UK created this as a way to help folks incorporate behavioral science and get people to change their behavior. Next slide. Okay, so next is behavioral approach. Since being at ACEEE in 2000, next please, in 2016, I run across a number of common assumptions all the time about what drives behavior, what encourages people to act. Of course, we're all trying to get people to act, whether it's through policy change or incentives or whatnot. Here's a couple of the most common assumptions. Next, first up, yeah, just people don't know. If we just told people about the energy efficiency program, surely they would participate. If they knew more about the environmental problems they're causing, they would take action. And we know that sometimes people know and they just don't act. So sometimes people, I should say, these common assumptions are very often true, but also not always true. Next up, money is everything. If we simply made the behavior we want cheaper, or made the other behavior more expensive, people would act accordingly. And sometimes people choose more expensive things for no good reason. Next up, technology will save us. Why bother even changing people's behavior when we can simply, invent things like sensor lights where we don't need to turn on and off the lights ourselves anymore? Well, the truth is, yes, the technology will get us a long way, but people have to install these technologies, adopt them, and use them properly. So behavior can't be removed from the equation entirely. Next up, policies and laws are all we need to change behavior. Yes, policies and laws are an extremely potent lever, but the truth is that policies are not enacted until a lot of people are already doing the behavior. They're just not feasible to enact them, and there isn't the political will there. So getting people to voluntarily act is still important. Next and final point is that people make rational decisions. Yes, a lot of the times people do make rational decisions. They choose the cheaper, better option, but a lot of the times they won't. For example, people are what I consider irrationally in love with their gas stoves when perfectly good, potentially better induction cooktops are now available. So all of these are assumptions that are often true, but not always. Next slide. So what does drive energy-related behavior and decision making? And here I'm going to introduce the EAST framework, which is one that I've been using more and more often recently, created by the Behavioral Insights team out of the UK. And EAST stands for making it easier, more attractive, more social, and more timely. Thank you. So making it easy is basically simplifying your processes, thinking about the steps people have to go through and reducing them, making them easier. Making the behavior more attractive, so simply making it more appealing in some way. Making it social, showing that other people are doing it. And making it timely, intervening at the exact right moment when people are like reconsidering their habits or something like that. So let me get into those in a little bit more detail. Next slide. And I'm going fast because I hope that I can leave some time for questions at the end. Um, First, make the behavior easier. Most of the time, this is just simplifying the process. Let me show you an example. Next slide. This is an example I've talked about for many years now. The city of Fort Collins wanted to get people to upgrade their homes more frequently. And they were like, why aren't people doing it? Why aren't they participating in our program? Next. So, and next again. They did some preliminary research, some focus groups, some segmentation studies, some consumer surveys. Next. And they found that it was more than just about money. There were, previous, please. Um, there's complex technical decisions about the scope of work that homeowners need to make. Homeowners lack the time to meet with and select contractors, and they lack trust in contractor proposals. So none of these have to do with money, but they're all these intangible things. And so when they learn this, they're like, all right, let's make some changes. Next slide. So this is some solutions. Next. Primarily, and what I'm most envious about, not every municipality can do this. They streamline the process. They created a hotline for assessments, and when a homeowner calls the hotline, they assign the next job to the next assessor on the top of the list, and then they go down the list. And to be able to do this, they had contractors first be vetted and approved and verified, and then accept standard packages with standard prices that include the rebates. So the homeowner doesn't have to go out and apply for them. Next. So what did this solve? It created a need for fewer visits in the home. It made the homeowner not have to do as much comparison shopping. Next. And so there's some tangible improvements. They reduced the number of home visits from 6 to 2. There was less effort required from the homeowner. They didn't have to apply for those rebates. They didn't have to consult multiple contractors. They reduced the completion time from 119 days to 76 days, enrolled 2 times as many homes as with the previous program. And they reduced natural gas use by 70% relative to the 50% they were reducing with the old process. And this was a goal, of course, like a goal for their program, not necessarily for every program, but it's more of an example of how streamlining a process and accounting for these, things you might not think about could by themselves increase uptake of a program. Next up. So making the behavior more attractive. Now, most of the time, this is just making it cheaper or making it better. But I'm going to show you an example that we looked at that's kind of a clever use of social science. So first of all, you need to know that attractiveness is relative. Whenever you're thinking about an object, a service in front of you, to decide its worth, you're mentally comparing it to other similar things. And if I can change the focus of comparison, I can change your perception of the thing in front of you. So here's an example from 1982. Pretend you're a subject in this experiment. You came to you came to the lab and you read a number of these, but I'm giving you the beer example. Remember, these are students in the 1980s. Below, you'll find 3 brands of beer. You know only the price per 6-pack and the average quality ratings made by subjects in a blind taste test. Given that you had to choose one brand to buy on this information alone, which one would it be? So you're going to show you quality ratings and prices. You decide which one you like. So condition 1, people read this and then went and saw a list of just 2 items. Condition 2, they're randomly assigned to maybe instead see 3 items. Nice one, Duff, the Homer Simpson. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for getting that reference. So let's show the first set of choice options. Advance? Yes. And advance one more? Okay. So remember, which one would you choose? Brand A, it's $1.80 per 6-pack. Remember, this is the 1982. I don't think you can get a single beer for $1.80 anymore. Quality rating of 50 out of 100. Brand B, $2.60, slightly higher quality rating, 70 out of 100. Think about it. Which one would you prefer? You can put it in the chat if you want to. Now, there is a mathematical way to figure this out. If you divide the average quality rating by the price per 6-pack, you can find out which one's more valuable. I don't see any answers in the chat, but most people pick these about 50-50, and that's the right answer. So if you just see these two, you're picking a 50-50, A versus B. Now, if you were randomly assigned to a different condition, you saw brand C. Can you reveal that now? So brand C is clearly inferior. Nobody picks this one. It's $1.80 per 6-pack with a lower quality rating of just 40. But what happens now? People pick A a lot more than they do B, and they never pick C almost. So without changing the price per 6-pack or the quality rating, you simply changed the decision choice context, made one look much better in comparison, and therefore you've changed the decision. So that's behavioral science approach to, nudging behavior, if you want to use that term. Next slide. So we did this. We took this approach and looked at home energy upgrades. So we downloaded an actual home energy assessment report. We extracted the items from it and presented it in 2 possible conditions. So half the group saw this list of items. 2 of them are missing. I'll tell you later. We explained to them, SIR is savings to investment ratio. The higher the savings to investment ratio, the faster it pays itself off. So one group saw this list. Another group was randomized to see this other list. Please show that now. Okay, now the difference between these 2 lists is we've removed, so next, advance. So you can see in the top list, you have 2 items that I call no-brainer items. Like upgrading lighting is 22 times better than like refrigerator upgrade, it pays itself off so much faster. And so our thinking was that in that list, those no-brainer items make the other items that are perfectly good look really bad, and people wouldn't want to choose them. So in the other list, list number two below, you can see we've removed the no-brainer items and added back two items that are maybe slightly worse than the ones um, in the top list. And what we were interested in is how often do people pick the mid-level items? The ones that are perfectly good appear on both of those lists. And sure enough, next, we found that when people saw the second list, they picked the mid-level items more frequently, 1.6 times versus 1.2 times on average. And if you add up the total cost, it's much higher. So our recommendation coming out of this was like when you do an assessment report, maybe take the no-brainer items, put them somewhere else in the assessment report, like maybe up front. These are the ones you're going to do. And then make another list of like, these are additional items I think you should consider. So people aren't actively comparing the no-brainers with the additional list. So that's the kind of thing that we do. Next up. All right, making it social, showing that other people are doing it. For this, I'm just going to demonstrate it with an old experiment. I want to see how many people can guess the results of this experiment. Go ahead. So these back in 2008, these experimenters randomly assigned different homes in a neighborhood to get different door knockers that had energy savings messages on them. And then they monitored the electricity use of these homes to see which ones used less electricity subsequent to receiving the door knock. So which one do you think worked best? Next, first up, save money. If you reduce your AC use this summer, you'll save this much money. Next, save the planet. If you reduce your AC use this summer, you'll save this many greenhouse gas emissions. Next slide, or next, yep. Be a good citizen. It's good for society to reduce your air conditioning use less energy. Next slide, your neighbors are doing it. So some of you being around probably know the answer to this. The actual answer is your neighbors are doing it. Thank you for great timing on that advancement. Interestingly, the experimenter started by doing a survey, like which one of the things do you think would motivate behavior? And people mentioned saving money, saving the planet, and being a good citizen. They did not mention being a good neighbor, like your neighbors are doing it. But this is the power of social norms, and this spawned a whole industry of creating what's called home energy reports, where you see your energy use relative to your neighbors, and you subsequently use less energy. So making a behavior social can be a way to improve it. If you can't do this, showing testimonials are helpful. Exactly, keeping up with the Joneses. Thanks, John. Next up. Okay, finally, the last thing is make your your plea to change behavior timely. So intervene at the right moment. And for this example, I'm going to use something I'm going to way back to when I was a grad student doing my master's. And I did a project, next slide, where I put up signs. This is back when we had light switches in those washrooms. And in 17 unused washrooms around the campus, my university campus, we put up these signs. Washroom empty, please turn off the lights. Now, the critical piece here is that it's not just a good prompt, but it's a prompt put at the moment when people are making the decision to act. Previous research shows that you put the prompt further away, people aren't likely to act. You put a recycling bin far away from the garbage bin, it's less likely people will recycle because they need to make a special effort to go over there. They're not automatically already going to the garbage can. So when we put this prompt in an area that was like right next to the light switch, this is the pattern of use that we saw. Go next slide. Sorry for the terrible quality of this photo, but you can see in the first 7 days, we just looked at the washrooms without the signs, 0% lights off. Very few people ever turned the lights off in unused washrooms. I should say our volunteers went into these 17 washrooms twice a day and recorded whether the lights were on and off and recorded the percentage of time. As soon as those signs went in, you can see a jump, 40 to 60% lights off in those washrooms while the signs were on. Up. Then we saw, does the signs actually matter? Let's take them down. Took them down. You see a return to almost a baseline in days 22 to 35. We put them back up. Behavior went back up. This was pretty good evidence. And then 6 months later, days 110 to 118, the signs were up. The behavior was still about the same. So just going to show that like when you put a prompt that's timely, it really works. Another great example of a timely intervention is encouraging people to ride the bus is more likely when they've just moved, they've just started a new job, things like that. All right, next up. So, key takeaways. Next slide. And for some reason, I thought this was funny. He specializes in drawing conclusions. Uh, to sum up, behavior matters. A behavioral science approach is important. It complements your major levers of incentives and regulations, mandates. More um, behavior is more than just incentives and mandates. There's lots of reasons people act or don't act, and make it easy, attractive, social, and timely, and you're more likely to have uptake. That's my main takeaways. Next slide. I want to give one more plug for this amazing conference happening in just a few weeks in Sacramento. Especially if you happen to be in California, you should definitely, or Northern California, you should definitely take this up. And for a limited time, use my personal code. It expires in 2 days. You can save $150 for this conference. If you like the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, this is a great place to hear more about it. Next up. So thank you. This is my name and contact info. I would love to hear from you. And if we have any time at all, my favorite part of these sessions is Q&A. So Chelsea, do we have time for Q&A or should we move on?
We have about 5 minutes, maybe let's say 7 since we got a late start. So probably 2 questions, 3?
Great. So I see a question in the chat. Do you want me to read these questions
Oh,
or do you
sorry.
want to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the question from Everett is, this is the case with solar too, generally. Neighbors who have solar increase the likelihood a neighbor goes solar.
Fantastic example. I have used that example in presentations before. Solar is interesting because it's visible, on people's houses, unlike energy efficiency, which is usually inside people's houses. There's some evidence that even energy efficiency, like zoned heating, can diffuse through neighborhoods in a sort of like a contagion. I hate to use that term, but yes, solar is very much a social thing. There's some great evidence out there that it diffuses among people that know each other. One note about social networks is that they're not everybody in the social network is equal. So solar is interesting because you can see it, but with advances that you can't see, if you're able to get your uptake of your product, your behavior by a person who's very well known and has lots of connections within a network, you're much more likely to see uptake. And that's why you see companies like for-profit companies using brand ambassadors, especially in university. They find people that are popular and they try to get those people to endorse their products and help spread them because one person who's popular is, five, six, seven people who is a fringe member of the neighborhood. I do think that you can train people to become more popular, but that's a whole other topic.
Great, thank you. Our next question is, can you talk about how demand management programs might integrate behavioral cues with efficiency upgrades to improve results?
Okay, so demand management programs, there is something called behavioral demand response now, which is no incentive, just information at the time of acting. And the question is whether, integrating it with behavioral cues and energy efficiency upgrades to improve results. So there's one fun example of using behavioral science to encourage uptake for on-demand response programs. This is one specific case, so it may not apply in all settings, but this particular researcher used the effect of public observability to encourage uptake. And what they did was they went to a building and they put in the building lobby a sign like, please sign up for behavioral demand response. It's great. It's the right thing to do. It's good for these reasons. And when it asked people to put I think it was like their names and unit numbers, so that's publicly identifiable, more people signed up than the same sign without being publicly identifiable. And the thinking was people want to be seen doing a good thing. And so maximize, and then the researchers did a clever thing where they were like, this would be equivalent to offering like $25 per participant to register to sign up or something. I can't remember the exact number. But the point is that's an example of using behavioral science. I think that there's also ways to message actual appeals during peak heat events, that behavioral demand response, to make them most effective. Messages that really resonate are usually about health, comfort, and the environment. I don't know about demand response in particular, but that's how you sort of sell energy efficiency usually. Combining it with energy efficiency, my thought there is just once is more it's a bundle with your with your demand response program more than it is associated with behavioral science, if that makes sense. So when they sign up for demand response, they get energy efficiency rebates, or you message the people that got that,